Okay. So let's start. Let's start. So as we all know that we have entered into the analyze phase to identify the axis, identify the causes. Okay. So let's understand what are the different ways to identify the causes. Identification of causes can be done using many different ways, many ways. However, majority of them is to be done using the brainstorming technique. We will get into what is brainstorming, what are the different ways of brainstorming. And second is the data stratification. Okay, data stratification is the data which we already have, uh, on basis that we also try to identify that can be the causes of. Data stratification is always there with me. So for that, I can, those can also be my potential causes as well. Those could be my potential exercise also. There are many other ways where I can identify the causes. I can identify the causes from the process walkthrough. I can identify the causes from the process map that I have placed. I can identify the causes from some of the best practices that some other teams are doing. I can do the identification of access using the benchmarking that other companies or industries are following. But the majority of the stuff, identification is to be done using the brainstorming and the data certification. So what is brainstorming? People who have never heard of this term before, just want to tell to them that it's an exercise which is to be done with the team members, wherein we get into a room or where we get into a call, where we try identify the potential causes here. We are not getting into the solution yet. So we have let's say we have a problem in hand, which is try to improve the customer satisfaction scores or try to improve the net promoter score. Okay. So I know that I have a problem in hand, but I don't know what are those factors. Due to that, my causes, due to that, I have a very low NPS score. So I will get into a room and I'll ask everybody to express their concerns due to which they believe that the NPS is very low. So where the people get into a meeting room or a conference where a lot of ideas can be gathered within a very small amount of time. Okay, so we will set up the agenda. It's a responsibility of a project leader to set up the agenda and explain everyone that we are doing a brainstorming just to identify the causes. Okay, if there's any quick win which you think can be implemented, you can talk about it. If there's any solution that you can think, probably you can park it for a while, but the agenda would be to identify the potential causes. Okay, so that technique is called the brainstorming technique. There are some ground rules for brainstorming. Okay, wherein we should give each and everybody a chance to speak up. We should respect each and everybody's idea. So since there will be lot many cross-functional teams would be participating in this brainstorming, and they will be sharing their experience, which is that the NPS score is very low. So we'll have to respect their concern and their issues, so that we can get to the good amount of exhaustive list of causes that can contribute to my project. Why? Can someone tell me? Can someone tell me what is that one important thing which needs to be there for the brainstorming? Sorry, I didn't get that. Somebody was trying to say.
Yeah, so one thing for brainstorming is not to cut down any ideas when you're starting.
Absolutely, that is for sure. Because we should respect everybody, but there is very important thing which should be there to do the brainstorming. How do you conclude that we have done the effective brainstorming? What is that one key essential thing which needs to be there? Can someone talk about it? Anybody? Just a wild guess or something which you think can be done. There is nothing
Clarity
right
in
or
a
a wrong answer.
subject.
Sorry, Mahesh.
Clarity in a subject.
Absolutely, that has to be there, and therefore we have reached to the analyze phase because we have already put together a operational definition in the measure phase. So everybody has a clear understanding. That is for sure.
Simulprit, I would say we need to focus on the number of ideas that are coming up in the discussion, not how effective or the quality of the ideas, but the ideas. Because once we have a good number of ideas, we can then explore them and see which are the ones that we can actually focus on.
Before even ideas, sorry.
Yeah.
Let,
You need people with the process expertise, or people who are on the ground. Uh,
absolutely. So I need to
Yeah,
have
your
a right.
random. Yeah.
Sorry. Please speak up. Go ahead, Ratna.
Yeah, so we should have a diverse group of people where everybody can give their views around whatever is the agenda.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So whatever Anand and Ratna said, I just want to summarize it. I need to have the right audience in order to conduct the brainstorming. I cannot call each and every person from the team to call for the brainstorming, or each and every person in the department. It is very, very important to select the right audience for the brainstorm. Okay. What is the definition of right audience? Right audience means that I should have some people who are directly contributing to the process. They might not be part of my project team, but I know there are few users who are directly interacting with the customer. I'm taking an example of NPS project. I know there are few people who are directly interacting with the end user. I know there are few teams who do a lot of analysis. Okay, so me as a project leader, it is my judgment, because I know the process very well. I need to select the right audience. I need to have some best performers also in the brainstorming, because they can share best practices. I can have some people who are facing issues also while meeting the numbers, so that they can share their concern, and then that's how the best practices can be done. So all these things are very, very important when we say that we need to know the goal of the exercise. We need to contribute a lot of ideas. I'm not saying whatever you said is wrong, but the first and key most thing which has to be there in the brainstorming is to select the right audience. Because if that is not there, if you don't select the audience very carefully, you will not get the desired outcome. Okay. So that is the do's and don'ts of conducting the brainstorming. Now there are different methods of brainstorming. Okay. It is not always there that you go ahead and get into the room and start conducting the brainstorming. There is a free wheel method wherein there is a spontaneous flow of ideas of all team members. Anybody who thinks that he has something to say. Likewise, when I conduct the training with all of you, whenever you have any question, you just free feel and ask that question, or whenever you want to make any comment, you go ahead and do it. Okay, so that's a free will. Rounds robin is that when I call you and say that please mark your attendance, when each and everybody comes and say okay. So in the brainstorming itself, so when we see that there are few team members who are not speaking up, then it's a responsibility of a project leader and say, okay, so Mr. ABC, I haven't seen any input from you. I couldn't get any input from you. So then probably you can convert the free will into a round robin. Sheet and card method. There are sometimes some people who are not very. There are some people who are not very comfortable speaking up the concern and issues that they have. Okay, so that's why they prefer writing it on a sheet. Want to be very, very confidential, and they can use that method also. And so these are the three methods probably can be used: free wheel, round robin, and chit card method for conducting the brainstorming. Okay, so this can change during the course of the time also, but free wheel is the best method because anybody wants to say something, he or she can speak up. So this is how a typical brainstorming exercises is to be done. Okay, I thought somebody has any question. Now, the purpose of doing brainstorming is to identify certain causes. Okay. So once we do the brainstorming, we get a long list of ideas that we have, and it's a responsibility of a project leader to make it in an organized way that I remove any duplicate sort of ideas that I have. If there are a couple of ideas which are similar in nature but has been said in a different way, so I make a long list of those causes which is contributing to my project why. Now, in order to pictorially represent those causes, I use a tool called Fishbone. Okay, so I'm introducing a new tool to all of you. Some of you must have worked on it. Some of you must have gone through it because most of you are green belt already, but I still want to talk about it. Fishbone is a tool which typically help us to pictorially gather those ideas into one form. Okay, some people say fishbone is an exercise which is which helps to identify the causes. So I would differ. It is not to identify the causes. Identification has already been done in the brainstorming. I'm not identifying. In the cause and effect diagram, what we typically do is we categorize those causes under different headers that we have. Okay, so we'll discuss those headers about that. But just by now, understand that this tool help us to do the affinitize kind of thing, wherein we categorize those causes under different headers. And by the end of this exercise, we would come to know that which particular category we need to focus on to resolve the issue that we have. Okay. Another piece of information that I want to give you all is that there are 3 names for fishbone diagram. Okay. Another name is cause and effect diagram because we are identifying the cause, and it is also known as Ishikawa diagram. Why Ishikawa? Because Ishikawa is a name of a gentleman who introduced or developed this tool, and he believes that no matter whether you're doing a Six Sigma project or whether you're doing any sort of discussion, this is a perfect tool which helps you to get to the potential causes or some of the causes of your problem area that you are working on. Okay, so this is a perfect tool which you can use within Six Sigma project or outside Six Sigma. Okay, so like I said, it's a pictorial representation of the potential axis. The design of the diagram looks like a skeleton or a fish. It is referred to as fishbone. Okay, so these are the different headers that we can look at while representing these causes that we have identified from the brainstorming. So it can be manpower, machine, mother nature, measurement, method, and material. So it is not compulsory or mandatory to only give these sort of categories to the causes that you've identified. You can name it as per your own convenience. You can name it as per the causes that you've identified. But these are the industry standards that I'm talking about, that you can categorize those causes under different headers, like manpower, which means that if that cause is because of any manpower sort of an issue, it means if it's kind of a skill issue, if it's related to people, then it's a manpower. Machine sort of an issue would mention that it's sort of a technical issue or a system issue that has been identified. Mother nature is if it's kind of an uncontrollable or an environmental or a seasonal kind of thing. Okay, so likewise we are currently in the COVID area. Okay, so it's a kind of it's a mother nature. Okay, month ends, year ends, quarter ends, these are mother nature. Measurement sort of an issue that we have that comes under measurement. Method, any sort of process gap that you find, that is come under method. And material, anything which is related to materials. So it is not mandatory to use all these 6 M's. You can use either 3 or 4 depending upon the causes that we have identified. So these are the industry standard 6 M's that are being agreed for preparing fishbone. So this is how a typically fishbone looks like, and you can prepare the fishbone on Minitab as well. So this is the effect. Okay. Which we already know. Effect is the problem in hand, which is also known as Y, and our responsibility is to represent the causes that we have identified from the brainstorming.